You're not half bad. You killed my father. Like father, like son.
Welcome to the motherfucker. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, now it's time for another installment of what has fast become one of the most popular segments here on the channel, RINGIQ Hate Mail. Happy Javi is at it again.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
With another long-winded paragraph of fanboy drivel saying, I don't care about Canelo, my faves are David, Fundora, Ryan, Virgil, and Bam.
I didn't ask you who your favorites are, Javi.
Your boy Bud didn't want the Mexican monster smoke. He was too scared.
Is he talking about the cruiserweight? He's talking about David Benavidez, who wasn't at 168 at the time that Crawford moved up there and beat Canelo. You would have thought he'd be a fan of Terrence Crawford, since he beat the guy that he hopes David one day beats.
Virgil already beat Madrimov better than Bud.
Yeah, and Bud beat Mean Machine better than him, so what's your point?
When he beats Boots alone, he'd have a better resume than Bud, but I believe he beats Zayas and Fundora.
Oh, you believe it because you've yet to see it, because everything you're talking about is imaginary. You have to imagine fights for Virgil to win, because he's not actually having any.
When he beats Boots alone, he'd have a better resume than Bud, but I believe he beats Zayas and Fundora, whom both would stop Floyd and Crawford, because neither have got the chin to stand in the pocket like Mendoza does.
Buddy, if Brian Mendoza can knock Sebastian on his ass, it's safe to say that Crawford can too, because he's fought as high as 168. What the fuck, are you retarded?
Bud's got a soft resume full of nobodies and mediocre fighters.
Sure. That's why your favorite fighters wish they had the same names on their resume that Crawford has on his. David Benavidez is still begging Canelo Alvarez for a fight. Sebastian Fundora, how many months did he spend chasing around Errol Spence after Terrence beat him?
Wasn't it your boy Virgil Ortiz, after Terrence beat him, that said his dream fight is Errol Spence Jr.? Didn't he say that? It seems like your favorite fighters wish they had a resume like Crawford's. Javi continued, Floyd Mayweather at least fought all Mexican greats during his time, should have lost to a couple but fought them. However, Floyd is basic compared to David and Bam, who are number 1 and number 2 in accuracy, like Floyd was of his era.
Number 1 and number 2 in terms of accuracy? On whose list?
Most accurate in terms of what? In terms of landing punches?
David ain't the most accurate, not even Bam. It's actually Alexander Usyk and Naoya Inoue.
Behind them, you'll see Shakur Stevenson, Dimitri Bivol, and Bam Rodriguez. Who you won't see is David Benavidez. He's not even mentioned. So, most accurate.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You're manufacturing fights for Virgil Ortiz, in some instances against fighters that he avoided in your imagination station. You're also manufacturing statistics while devaluing the facts of the matter. The fact of the matter is he's only having a go at Crawford because he knows that Crawford's one of my favorite fighters.
In defense of his favorite fighters, 2 of which avoided Terrence.
So you're gonna hold it against Terrence that after jumping up 2 weight classes for Canelo, he didn't jump up another one for David?
You don't think he deserves credit for jumping up 2 weight classes? So why should David get any credit for jumping up the cruiser? He's only fighting an old sparring partner.
Not some killer. Not somebody with a really high knockout percentage like Artur Beterbiev. Not some Ring Magazine or lineal champion like Jayo Pataya. He's jumping up in weight to fight a guy he did over 100 rounds with.
Whoop-de-fucking-do.
La-dee-da, he's fighting fucking Zurdo Ramirez. Is that supposed to be a big deal? Because Dimitri Bivol's already been there and done that.
Made it look easy. You better do the same this weekend.
The way that guys like Happy Javi and Jerry Soriano regularly put David Benavidez on a pedestal, believe it or not, I actually look forward to when he's going to fight, because I know for them, it's rather nerve-wracking.
It's got to be because he's got to go out there and live up to the expectations, the unrealistic ones that you set, while you disparage more accomplished fighters than he is.
Guys whose Hall of Fame ticket is already punched, you guys have got to hold out hope that David Benavidez can have a fraction of the resume,
an iota of the success that they've already had. Terrence Crawford's legacy is sealed.
His fate is fixed. So is Canelo Alvarez's. Losses and all, those 2 boys are getting in Canastota. But is David? His big win over Anthony Durrell or his big email that he got at 175?
Think beating Zurdo gets him in the hall?
I look forward to when David's gonna fight because I know it's a very stressful time for Jerry Soriano. It's even more stressful for Happy Javi, who's not so happy. He can't be leaving me these long-winded paragraphs.
Fan-driven drivel. He's venting.
He's letting out his frustrations that in the real world, David Benavidez is not who he imagines him to be.
And he hates me for pointing it out.
So he has a go at one of my favorite fighters, Terrence Crawford, whose resume really is what he pretends David's resume is, or Virgil, or Sebastian, or any of those scrubs, any of those mediocre fighters he supports.
Those fucking nobodies.
Like Javi is a fucking nobody. Birds of a feather.
What do?
They flock together. Javi is a pear-shaped wannabe. And so is David. Why do you think Javi gives him so much credit for being little more than a fat fuck? He said it himself. He walks around at about 2 and change. He's got to cut 50 pounds to get down to light heavyweight.
He's not some tactical boxer. He's just fucking fat.
Clout chasing all of the naturally smaller fighters that have still managed to accomplish far more than he has. Speaking of clout chasing,
Canelo Alvarez, who he can't shut the fuck up about.
Canelo Alvarez and Christian Mbilli agreed to WBC super middleweight title fight in September. Canelo and Christian have done a deal to fight in September in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for Mbilli's WBC super middleweight title. The Ring has learned Alvarez, boxing's top star,
Not David Benavidez.
will attempt to regain a world title in his first fight since his September 2025 loss to Terrence Crawford in Vegas. It was on that undercard that Mbilli fought Lester the Molester Martinez to a 10-round split draw in one of the year's best action fights. Alvarez is the ring's #1 super middleweight.
Mbilli is the third.
The event, Canelo's second in Riyadh, will feature Mexico versus the world, with an undercard of featured fights to be announced later on. Alvarez fought in Riyadh in May of 2025 when he outpointed William Skull to once again become undisputed champion at Super Middle. 4 months later, Alvarez met Crawford in a packed stadium in Las Vegas on Netflix, and while he was competitive, Crawford cruised down the stretch to seal the decision win for the Ring Magazine title at 168. Now Canelo is out to prove he's still near the top of his game at age 35. During his storied career, he's won titles in 4 weight classes and has been the sport's top attraction for nearly a decade. The Mexican icon's 3 career losses all came against fighters Canelo will one day join in the Hall of Fame. Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Bivol, and Terrence Crawford. Mbilli 31 will fight on the top level for the second consecutive bout. His matchup with Martinez was grueling. Up against a fellow pressure fighter, now he'll face a fighter on an even higher level, and one who can do it all, whether that's counterpunching or fighting off the front foot. Mbilli is an attraction in Montreal, where he resides as a French-speaking Cameroon native. Alvarez will represent the first former champion on Mbilli's resume.
Initial reactions to the fight are mostly positive because you can't interpret Christian Mbilli, of all people, as being a lighter touch. Canelo could have afforded one, coming off a loss and a year of inactivity, but he's not doing that.
All right, just saw that Canelo Alvarez announced his fight with Christian Mbilli. It's going to go down in September in Saudi Arabia. He announces it on the fight week of David Benavidez. I don't think that's an accident, but I got to give Canelo props here. He hasn't fought since the Terrence Crawford fight. It will be an entire year off, and he goes right into a very tough opponent. Mbilli is one of the most action-packed fighters in boxing today. He throws 75 punches around. He lands 45% of his power shots. This is not like a soft touch for Canelo. And I've said this before, if you're going to fight for Turkey and you're going to fight for those exorbitant purses, you got to fight big names. You got to fight tough fights. So Canelo versus Mbilli. I like that fight a lot. I wish it was in the States, but that's a whole different story.
I agree with Dan Canobio. You can't discredit the opponent. I think you'd have to have a stick lodged pretty far up your ass to poo-poo on this fight.
You would have to.
We're gonna discredit Mbilli now? A bigger, younger, unbeaten fighter, a reigning champion who by now the entire boxing world knows he's a handful. This is not a layup. This is not a tune-up fight. It's a title fight.
You know the guy's durable. You know he's got a chin. He can take a beating. He can hold a shot. He can give one.
He can give 2. He can give a few. He's a pressure fighter. He throws about 75 punches per round. And this is who Canelo's fighting in his mid-30s, coming off a loss and a year of inactivity. In fairness, Mbilli's coming off a year of inactivity too, though all the same, it's a great fight.
Mbilli would be a credible opponent for anybody and everybody at 168, so it doesn't now change because it's Canelo.
I half expected him to hold out for Hamza Shiraz to become WBO champion, or at least hold out until the outcome of this weekend's fight between Resendiz and Munguia is decided, that if Resendiz wins, maybe you fight him? This is not an easy fight for Canelo.
It's a good fight, but as you can imagine, there are still a few boo birds out there who aren't enthused about the news.
Yeah, the Canelo fight, he happened to announce it today. He's fighting in Riyadh in September. What do you think about that and the fact that he decides to announce it this weekend?
Who's he fighting?
Mbilli. Yeah, Mbilli.
Who wants to see that shit? You guys want to see that? I'm not trying to be a dick, bro, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to see that shit. Who the f*** is Mbilli? You know what I mean? I think he would have been better if he would have fought Diego Pacheco. You know what I mean? Diego Pacheco has a way bigger name than Mbilli. But I don't know, bro. You guys keep asking me about it. This is a monster weekend. This weekend, you know, we have great fights. Not only do I have it's a great main event. The whole card is stacked. You got Oscar Duarte, Resendiz, Munguia. It's gonna be a hell of a weekend.
Diego Pacheco is not a bigger name than Christian Mbilli, and he's not a champion either, so why would Canelo be looking at him?
You could see David's heart sink to his feet. He looked so sad when they asked him about Canelo.
Just taking into account what David Benavidez had to say, would Diego Pacheco have been a better opponent choice for Canelo than Christian? And I would say no. I mean, absolutely not. Fighting Diego doesn't get you the chance to become a champion again.
Fighting Christian does.
Fighting Diego doesn't make for a more entertaining fight for the fight fans, because Diego's going to try to move, try to box, try to keep it long, stay on the outside, not engage, whereas Christian,
he's going to try to mow Canelo Alvarez down.
I'm not even trying to poo-poo on Diego Pacheco as a fighter, because I think he's pretty good, but this is the same Diego Pacheco who was offered Hamza Shiraz for the vacant WBO title, and he withdrew from that fight. He walked away from it, and this is who you want to fight Canelo?
Nobody want to see that shit.
I beg to differ. I would go as far as saying that more people are going to tune in. More people are going to be paying attention to Canelo's fight in September than your fight this Saturday. That by every quantifiable metric that gauges the size and scale of a boxing match in terms of viewership, attendance, finance, and romance, Canelo's is bigger. Canelo's fight is bigger. It's bigger than yours.
It's better than yours.
David, you're fighting an old fucking sparring partner. How many times in the build-up did you say that you sparred this guy over 100 rounds? You probably would have been better off not giving away that major detail, because that tells a story. Why you moving up the cruiser? Why you fighting this guy instead of Jai?
Because you already sparred the guy for over 100 rounds.
He says nobody wants to see Canelo versus Mbilli. I'll make a bet with any David Benavidez fan that Canelo versus Mbilli gets more viewership than Benavidez versus Zerto.
Who wants that action? Who wants it?
Nobody means nobody. By that reckoning, the viewership numbers for Canelo's fight shouldn't be better than David's.
I think he's chasing clout, to be honest, to promote his fight and do more appearances. We know where Canelo's going. He was pound per pound. He's not even ranking the rankings right now, so I think we're all going to go through that stage, and I think his era is done, Reflexes, speed, power, legs are not there. So we see a Canelo declining little by little, and now he's trying to get some clout to promote his fight. To be honest, it could be another loss for him. Like I said, Mbilli is a little bit fresher, but, I don't think he's an elite fighter. At the end of the day, they're trying to put fighters that he can beat. Not guaranteed, but fighters that are not, nobody wants to see that fight. It's not an exciting fight. He doesn't bring any more excitement to the fight. He hasn't brought any excitement to the fights. So, Cinco de Mayo's open for a great opportunity for the Mexican monster. We are going to look spectacular. We can't just win a fight. We got to look spectacular in order to show the people that we belong here. And we're taking over September also.
They're taking over September. Apparently, Canelo Alvarez is chasing clout. Clout from who?
From you?
From your hobo Joe son who can't stop mentioning Canelo Alvarez? Every interview and every podcast he does when he's doing rounds for the media to sell a fight with somebody else.
All he ever seems to want to talk about is Canelo, and all they want to talk to him about is Canelo.
And you think that Canelo Alvarez needs to chase you for clout? He's trolling you guys is what he's doing. For as much as you've been mentioning him in the build-up of your fight, he may as well announce his during your fight week. And look at how easily his news eclipses yours.
Now I'll tell you something about that Christian Mbilli fight. It is possible that Canelo's on the slide. He's on the back nine and he's in decline. But If he's still good enough to win a title at this weight, then he's still good enough to be ranked on the pound-for-pound list.
If he becomes a two-time super middleweight champion, having already been a two-time undisputed champion at this weight, and a four-weight world champion overall. If at 35, he can beat a bigger, younger, unbeaten champion who is in his prime, while Canelo is not.
He's back on the list.
He would absolutely be back on mine, in the top 5. A lot of what you hear from Jose Benavidez almost comes off as rage bait.
Because a lot of what he says is so obviously in opposition of the truth. Canelo doesn't need any clout from you or your wannabe son.
It's gotta be rage bait that you would sit there with a straight face and say that Canelo Alvarez is chasing clout from you guys who spend the buildup of every fight you have talking about him.
Even when it's at cruiserweight, one division shy of heavy.
A long time ago, I said that not only is David Benavidez gonna move up the cruiserweight, but when he does, he's still gonna spend every interview talking about Canelo. I said it as a joke.
And this fat fucker made it a reality. His rat-faced father.
Wispy fucking mustache, smiling through his teeth, saying stupid shit.
It's gotta be rage bait.
These guys are a bunch of fucking clowns, man. Oh, now they want to poo-poo on Christian Mbilli as an opponent when Canelo's gonna fight him. But before that,
was in February of 2024.
They were singing his praises and calling him a dangerous opponent. Jose Benavidez Sr. himself said he's a fucking monster. Did he stop being a monster between then and now?
No, you just kept being a fucking clown. Fucking clout chaser.
The inconvenient truth is, fighting on Cinco de Mayo weekend isn't gonna make David the face of boxing. Put simply, it's too late to assign him to that throne.
He's 29 years old. He's almost 30. He's not a big box office draw. He's not that big a ticket seller either.
He doesn't have an abundance of opponent options, really just 2 or 3 at the most, the max.
It's too late to become the face of boxing, to ascend to that throne, even in the absence of Canelo Alvarez, and it's because the foundations were not already laid for David.
They could have been.
But they chose to be strategic. When he first reigned as WBC champion in the super middleweight division alongside George Groves, who had the WBA, and Zerto, who had the WBO.
Jose Uzcategui, who had the IBF, who then lost it to Caleb Plant.
George Groves lost the WBA to Callum Smith. Zerto moves up, drops the brown belt. Billy Joe Saunders picks it up.
That whole time, that was David's opportunity to lay the foundations that could have later saw him ascend to the face of boxing. If you would have cleaned house at 168 when you had the chance, you'd be in a stronger position now. I can almost guarantee it. But you chose to be strategic and play side of the street politics. Now, you don't have a lot to show for it.
How would that have helped?
In fighting those fighters and beating those champions, unifying those titles, he would have built the fan base then that could have been buying his pay-per-views now.
He would have forced Canelo Alvarez to have to answer to him at super middleweight if he would have had all the belts.
But he had none. So here in 2026, it's a little bit late for you to try to become the face of boxing. Canelo was younger than you are now when he had his first 2 fights with Gennady Golovkin after a string of successful pay-per-views.
Bottom line, it's too late. You're a day late and $1 short to try and become the face of boxing. It's not gonna be you.